How I made my Ahsoka Tano cosplay from the Mandalorian. To make her shirt, I just got this thrifted tank top that was a nice pattern in a nice black, and I was going to cut off the bottom and crisscross the top to make a sort of collar. The back also had her design, which is sort of that racerback style. So here's it all cropped, and here's that little piece panel sewed onto my shoulder and then onto the opposite side underneath my armpit. It created a sort of fold, which I really liked. Now let's do the next one. Same thing, just flipped. Sewed up on the shoulder, and then sewed underneath on my opposite armpit. For the actual vest, I measured how long and how wide I needed it to be, and then I cut it out of my main current fabric. Here are the pieces. And here are the pieces sewed on. I sewed them at the top shoulder, at the bottom, underneath my armpit, and around the arm hole. This little gaping shouldn't be an issue with the obi on. There you go. For her pants, I used this free pattern from the Happiest Camper to make these wide-legged, sort of harem pants. They only have one seam on the inside. As you can see, there's no seam on the outside. Only one seam right here. And they are cuffed at the bottom with an elastic, so they really hug my calves and give that sort of poofy pant effect. If you're wondering what the fabric is, it's actually just a recycled curtain I had lying around. The pattern works out really nice. At the top, there's another elastic so it can hug my waist better, and there's also 4 pleats in the back. There you go. For her obi belt, I just sort of measured a rectangle with a point at the bottom and cut it half on my fold. I had an extra panel in the back and also hemmed the sides just to make it a little cleaner and to make it fit a little bit better. For her hip guards, I just measured the shape and how big it needs to be and cut it out on 2 patterns. Flipped it inside out. There you go. And then I just sewed along the top stitch to close it up. Nice and poofy. I sewed them directly onto the belt so I wouldn't have to worry about extra pieces sliding about. Just a simple top stitch, and there you go. For the brown belt, I salvaged as much pleather as I can and made this 3-panel belt. I folded over and hemmed the edges and added some Velcro so it would close. For the ring, I actually used some of the current rings I had lying around, but I needed a brighter one, so I had extras. I cut out little strips to be the little pattern that she has on her brown belt, and I just sort of weaved them on and straight up hot glued them on. There you go. For her beads, I was lucky enough to find this close match at a thrift store. It's actually just a necklace that's hot glued on, but it works out pretty well. And here is the final obi, and it just connects in the back with 2 Velcro. For the armbands, I used this 4-way stretched black fabric and cut out 3 diamonds. There, I cut out more strips of my curtain fabric and sort of weaved them across, making sure each diamond was completely covered. Then I weaved each strip through each other, one over the other, all the way through the entire armband. Then I just hot glued them on, because that was the easiest method, and here you go. For all of her armor pieces, I actually made my own patterns, and they're up on my Etsy for everyone. I used 5mm EVA foam and cut out my patterns. I also marked where I needed to cut and fold just so I didn't forget. Here is the handguard with some of the shallow cuts. And if you hit them with the heat gun, they will really open up. Here's the handguard with the fold cuts, which are on the back of the handguard, kind of like that, to give a folded edge on the top of the piece. I use contact cement, but make sure you always wear your respirator. There are in total 6 pieces for her foot armor that I all cut out, and here are 2 of her shin armors. I primed them with Mod Podge, and I painted them a shiny gloss black, and then I began painting on the blue silver accents on the side. I just used simple craft paint for this. For the actual top shiny bits, I just used more craft paint and just built up layers. To make the armor more battle damaged, I used this metallic gilding polish and hit the edges where they would see the most damage, which is around the corners and tops. I did the same for the foot armor and attached them together with hot glue. For the attachments, I just used Velcro and glued them directly onto the back, especially for the arm guards, so that I could easily just wrap them around my arms. Here are the arm attachments, all on. I wanted to keep the handguard separate from the actual glove, so it's just another wraparound, so that way I can still reuse the glove for any other projects. For the boot armor, it's actually really cool. For the bottom piece there, I made it out of Velcro, very strong Velcro, and it attaches underneath the boot, so that way I didn't have to destroy the boot or add Velcro to the boot, and I could still reuse it. And for the shin armor, I did the same thing, but I did with more of a sort of wraparound with a piece of extra fabric, with more Velcro. This method is great because it hides my boot and also makes sure my boot can be reused for any other cosplay. For her modules, I used Alice and Tabitha's pattern and cut them out on 5mm EVA foam. It took a lot of gluing, it took a lot of stress, but it's just one huge puzzle, and I did my best. But actually, I was really happy with the shape, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I covered it with a 4-way stretch white fabric so I could hide all of the open seams. I then painted it with fabric paint, just added more stripes on top. For her little headband, I used more 5mm EVA foam, painted brown. And I attached it directly to the headpiece using contact cement. That way it wouldn't move. Wear your respirator. Here is the completed modules, and here is the completed outfit. Thank you all so much for watching me build this cosplay over the course of this month, and happy belated May the 4th. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope this all helps you out. If you use my armor patterns, please tag me and let me know. I'd love to see them. Thank you all so much for watching this crafting video, and I just wanted to give a special shout out to my patrons, PhoenixGhost, Knucks, Nathan, Brandon, Bulls, and Martin. Thank you all so much. See you next week.